Welcome to Specific Equipment Training. This is being produced for the ADM Associates, both at the Decatur facility and at the new operation in Brazil. This will be focused training on specific equipment, ISO1, the East Dryer. And what we're looking at is a collage. A collage is just a series of pictures that gives us an overview of the specific equipment, system, or process that we will be providing the training for today. And what we see in the center is the graphical user interface, what our operators see when they're operating the process. And the pictures around the peripheral edges are pictures of the actual facility itself, and we'll see more definition of these as we proceed. The training is done on a modular basis. This specific equipment will have 4 modules, and the purpose or the deliverable is to understand the air heat east burner on ISO1. And understand is an important concept, because if there are items that are not clear to us, then it is difficult for us to be able to function correctly, properly, and to the level of expertise that we all desire. So again, it's a modular concept. Each module is meant to be viewed independently. And as you look at this outline of the modules, you can understand the process of the education that you'll be experiencing as you go through the series. We will start out looking at the burner system overview, so just very basic concepts of a burner. Module 2 will identify the components, the very specific items that you will see, touch, and deal with. Then, of course, the most important thing for ADM worldwide is safety, so we will be very extensive coverage of the burner safety. And the 4th module is where everything comes together, and it will be the sequence of operation. When you understand the sequence of operation, this will help you to troubleshoot the system if there are problems. It will also allow you to understand that the system is functioning properly and everything is in good shape. The modules can be viewed independently, or they can be viewed in series. We follow the same philosophy that Khan follows. In Khan Academy, if you're not familiar with it, has many videos available on YouTube, and it's an educational process. Khan, through his studies, has verified that we don't have a lot of learning time inside of us, so we are good for 15 minutes to 30 minutes in each session of training to best digest what is being shown to us. The format that we're following is reusable, and we would encourage you after the conclusion to come back at a later date relatively quickly and review the training again. And then, since it is reusable, it will be available for refreshers probably in about 6 months after having seen the original one. But you will find that your understanding is enriched, and you will also find out that you'll be looking for more information and more knowledge as we understand the ISO1 East burner. So the first module, Basic Burner System Overview. Any system that burns, that is consuming fuel and producing a heat, needs 2 basic parts for the process. It needs oxygen and it needs fuel. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the graphical user interface information and show you exactly what is going on with the system again, so that we have a good, clear understanding. As we're going through this training, you will also find that each element builds on the previous ones. So some items you might see 2 or 3 times, some items you might see 4 times, but it will allow you to have familiarity, and it will allow you to have a clear understanding of the process. We also have technical information. The items that we are teaching, the items that you will see, we will be using the technical terminology. That is the most universal language for any country, any plant that we might be in. So let's begin. Of course, we need oxygen. In our case, it's inlet air. So again, the picture from the graphical user interface shows us what we have going on. So we draw outside air in for the combustion. Then we control the inlet airflow with a damper that's located in front of the blower of the fan. Then the fuel is natural gas. And again, this is what we see off the graphical user interface. And you can see inside the white circle, there's a lot contained in there with just one graphic. But we supply the natural gas, and almost like a furnace in our homes, the first element is the pilot. We supply gas to the pilot, we get the ignition, we verify that we have that ignition, then we will send gas to the main burner will ignite, and then the process gets under control. So again, it's a pilot and then a main burner. Then the process, looking at the rest of the elements in the graphical user interface, it's temperature controlled, heated air, and it's used to dry a sprayed product. So the operators will adjust the exhaust fans on the system to maintain less than 1 inch of vacuum on the system. You can see that we recorded this information both in words and in the symbols with the less than sign, less than 1, and then the inch sign, less than 1 inch of vacuum. Very important. And then the product continues through the rest of the process. Airflow to the east burners. So we have the inlet air that we saw in the previous slide. And these are the actual pictures. So the air comes through a filter house where it draws the outside air in. Then the next stage we have coils. So it's a preheat steam coil, so we can add temperature to the outside air as required. Then the inlet air flows to the burner via the fan that we can see in this lower picture. Then there's damper controls on the outside of the fan that regulate the inlet air to the burner. Example of combustion air blower for a burner. Now this is not the process at ISO1 East at the Decatur facility, but we believe this to be more representative of the operation at our Brazil plant. So again, this is a slightly different graphical user interface, not necessarily what is being seen in Brazil, but it will show us the process where combustion air is sent to the burner. So we can see the items that they're circled, and there's the blower. So it is supplying the combustion air for the burner to get the temperature for drying the product. The combustion air flows through a header, comes from the blower, and it goes to the burners. So you can see that header system inside that circle. And then we can also see where that is represented in the graphical user interface. Then the burner also has an inlet air blower, and we can see that on the screen, and we can see the physical element in the picture to the right. So coming back to the fuel part, so we were looking at the oxygen or the air that's required for the combustion. Now we'll spend some time looking at the fuel. So the fuel flow, which is natural gas for the east burner. Safety is always number one. There are many safety features built into the burner system. We have series limit string, overpressure protection, blocking valves, over temperature protection, and high vacuum protection. And we'll be explaining those as we go through this training session. So again, this is what the operator sees, portion of what the operator sees for the graphical user interface. And again, that one little section in the white circle, we can see the picture of the actual components. So it's really quite the process. And then the flow of the natural gas is registered, and we can see that over here to the left through a micro motion device. And that device right there is actually where we get the readings that the operator can see as we measure the consumption. And the entire process is a PID system, which is a proportional integral derivative system, which sounds pretty complicated, but when you break it down, it really says we're looking to maintain a set point temperature, and we'll change some aspects of the process to be able to maintain that. This is done through a PLC, Programmable Logic Controller. So the fuel controls, we'll go into a little bit more detail here for familiarity. And again, remember, this is to understand the components that you see, and then we will be able to put this all together and understand the sequence of operation. So the natural gas for the burner, the first section is where the gas comes in. So we have a gas header and regulators. The purpose of the regulators is to take the main pressure, which is several psi, and then start to step it down to the functional pressure that we need for the pilot and for the burner, which is between 1 and 2 pounds of pressure. Moving along, we can see the blocking valves and the dung switches. We'll have more explanation of those as we proceed. Then an important aspect are the limit string AFS, which stands for air flow switches. We have a modulation motor, and this is the section where we can actually see the pilot gas line. So the heated air from the east burner to the dryer, we also have exhaust fans to keep the system at our negative vacuum level. So the heated air, or the air is heated and is sent to the spray dryer. So physically, what we're looking at in the picture in the lower left are the gas supplies and all the functional elements for the pilots and for the burner. The air is heated to a set point temperature, then the product is sprayed into the dryer. And over here, this is showing the physical picture of the east exhaust fan. Again, this is used to keep the system at a negative air pressure, negative vacuum. That concludes module number 1.